evening. I am Scorpio Chronicles, and you're watching Kickstarter Connections. Good evening, good evening. This is Scorpio Chronicles. We thank you for joining us once again for Kickstarter Connections, where we actually introduce different independent artists, creators, their comic books, their works, their background, and anything to do with indie comics. And speaking of independent comics, if you all can just do me one favor and go over to indiecomicdispatch.com and check out on the latest and greatest of indie creators, artists and their latest work, and also check out our top 10 and some of the articles that we have on there. Talk about the things that are going on within the um, the independent comics. And also, while you're there, can you also think about us and kind of go ahead and help us out on our Patreon? Give us a little support, help us keep the lights on. I really enjoy doing this, and we do need your support so we can keep bringing you some good content and some good stuff. On tonight, we do have our special guest. Impound Comics is here. Mr. Brent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Glad to have you on tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. So we do appreciate you coming on tonight. And how things going with the comic book and Kickstarter?
Everything's going good. I mean, we hit our goal. That's all you can ask for.
Awesome.
We're at the last few hours, so we're just trying to push it as
Mm.
we can before it winds all the way down.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
but if you hit your goal, you can't complain.
that's it.
Yeah. So I'm more than happy. It's just figuring out what's next. We have a lot
Mm.
of stuff coming out after
Mhm.
this Kickstarter. So I'm trying to organize how we're going to do it.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but yeah, it's been moving quickly and it's been thriving. So I'm excited.
Awesome, awesome. Glad to hear that it's moving. Glad to hear that you hit your goal, but we still want to, of course, get those last few little
Absolutely.
extra little coins in, help out a little bit, little extra help. So
Every
that's
dollar.
what that's what we want to do. Now we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. So just to start it off, can you give us a little bit of background on how you became a comic book creator?
Um, I've always written stories. I'd say since like high school is when I first started writing. I started writing only
Yes.
novels though.
Hmm.
But I wrote my first novel, I would say, when I was like 17, but I never published it. I was
Mm.
going through that phase of like writing things and then hating it later.
Yeah.
Um, Stopped writing novels, and then I started writing movie scripts.
Mm.
And I wrote a lot of great movie scripts, like scripts that I still like. There's things I want to do, but then once you finish writing them, it's like, what now?
Yeah.
Like, the type of budgets that it takes to do the movies
Yeah.
are not realistic for everyday people. So
No, they're not.
I didn't want to stop writing, but I was just trying to figure out where to direct it to. And writing comic books is very similar to writing movie scripts, so that transition was very easy.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's what made me kind of like want to start writing in that way. I still didn't I didn't pursue it though until after I seen the movie Black Panther,
Mm.
and like after watching that movie, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just do it. I keep
Yeah.
like talking about it because I can still get to the movies. That
Yes.
it's just a different approach. So
Right.
that's still the goal. Just like I said, just working a different angle to get there.
Hmm. That is awesome. That is awesome. Keep those scripts because you
Yeah.
never know. But later on, you may just send one in out of a whim, and it may just become something even bigger
Right. Right.
than what you expected to. So, I mean, that I always say, keep those things
I
to
got
the
them all
side.
stored. Got them all stored.
Put them in a safe somewhere so no one can
Right.
grab your idea, of course.
Right.
So with that being said, also go ahead and tell us a little bit about the project Impound, with Inbound Comics and the creative team behind it. Also, for those of you that are joining, if you can see, I do have the link to his Kickstarter, just in case if you want to go ahead and back while you're on live with us, you have that link to go ahead and click that link and go ahead and back. Plus, I'm also going to be showing some of his work also on tonight. So while you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, and we're going to throw up some pictures of it while you're talking
Um,
about it.
So the current Kickstarter project is basically our second book for
Hmm.
Impound. So yeah, like I said, this is Impound 2. It starts directly after Impound 1. Um, and it's just how our main character, whose name is Anthony Inslee, reacts to what happened to him. Um,
Oh,
the story of Impound 1 ended very harshly, very tragically.
mhm.
I mean, you can see in the image alone, you know,
Yes.
he looks a lot different than when he was just an MMA fighter in the
Yeah.
first one. He looks like
Hmm.
he's coming back for war. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
like this one.
right. So just a very different character from what we've seen in Impound One.
Yeah.
And then the other book that's also attached to this Kickstarter is Decimus One.
Hmm.
Decimus is a completely different character, completely different story,
Hmm.
but every story in the Impound world some point comes together.
Yeah.
Uh, Decimus is the best way to explain it as the dark side or the Thanos of our world or our universe, and we're watching his beginning. You know, versus
Hmm.
in the Marvel movies, and also along with the DC movies, I didn't like that we didn't see Darkseid or Thanos until we seen them. I mean, they
Hmm.
said stuff about them, but we don't really know who they are. They kind of just threw their story at
Yeah.
us in the midst of the movie, and I wanted to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to show who Decimus was in the very beginning, what changes him to what he eventually becomes.
Hmm.
And this is the first of his origin story.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was checking out the work last night and I was just like, wow.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
lot
that's
to
the
take in.
yeah. It is a lot. And also who the part of the creative team, who was the artist for the impound for these books?
So the artists of Impact, well, it's hard to explain. So no, it's not that hard to explain. It's two different artists.
Okay.
So you see Anthony, who is
Mhm.
him in his human form. It's a guy named Augustin Noir who illustrates that. When you
Okay.
see him as Impound, like how you're seeing there, when he's a full
Mhm.
suited, it's another guy named Vash.
Oh, okay.
So they're both better at drawing the two different versions of that character.
Mhm.
So I kind of split up who drawed who.
Oh, okay.
Vash is definitely a bigger contributor
Mhm.
to the Impound world. He draws most of the stuff you'll see on my Instagram page. He drew Seraph, he drew Decimus,
Mhm.
and um, Gustin just sticks with only the Origin of Impound books.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So you have two artists that are actually working on the project, which that is awesome. So I'm glad that you can see the difference of who draws who and who draws who. Now, would you ever play like a switcheroo on them and see if they could draw the opposite, or
No,
would you keep it
no,
the
'cause
same?
I got to go to their strengths. Uh,
Uh,
Vash is my boy, and
uh-huh.
and he does a lot of great work. He doesn't always be, he's not always able to capture African American features the way I want to.
Mm,
So that's the reason why I don't have him draw Anthony as Anthony.
mm.
But when he draws suited heroes, he's incredible. He even drew this side, but
Yeah.
look, I can't even move the right
Yes,
way.
sir.
But it's like his illustrations are insane. But he drew that one as well.
Oh, okay.
When he draws suited heroes, that's just what he's best at. So
Mhm.
that's why I just have him stick to that.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So, while we're still talking about that comic book, can you explain a little bit of the history on this comic book? Like, how long have you been working on it, and where did the idea come from?
So I thought of it in 2018.
Hmm.
Um, in 2018, I probably got like four characters illustrated, and then I just stopped doing it. I
Hmm.
just lost interest, and then when 2020 came around, is when I decided to actually like push it. I found Vash and I found Augustin like
Hmm.
in the same week, and they were reasonably priced for what I was trying to do,
Hmm.
and it just made sense. It was like I had no excuse but to go forward. So I mean, the impound that the world has seen, it hasn't even been a year yet. I would say it's been about 8.5 months since the first post on our Instagram.
Hmm.
And then we've been selling. We actually started selling November 9th. That was when the first Origin of Impound came out.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome. So that now that's amazing that you met both of those artists at the same time
Yeah, it was like it was
because
meant to be.
yeah, because it's hard to get some artists to get a hold of some artists.
Right, right.
So I mean, so that was just a meant to be thing right there that you met both of them at the same time, and then they both benefit, and then they both created a lot within these books and the characters. So
Right.
I really, 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 really like that background right there.
Thank you.
So now speaking of the book, and we talked about the history and how it got started. Now the Kickstarter, I take it, has already been in play. It's already launched. You said that we're up to the last couple of hours. For those of you that are just joining, this is Impound Comics, and his Kickstarter is in the comic section. So if you want to go ahead and support and back, we're in the last hours of it. So it's your last chance to
About,
go ahead and back. And
probably about 28 hours left.
now
So
28 hours, yeah, that's coming close.
yeah,
Last hour, so we want to go ahead and back and support. Go ahead and get your copies, what you need, and let's go ahead and just support. That's what we do. Now, let's get into the Kickstarter. Okay. So I am going to pull up the information and show the Kickstarter. So you just go ahead and tell us, what type of goals and rewards that the people can look forward to.
so the first goals are the digital versions of these new books, Decimus One and Impound Two.
Okay.
After those, we start going into the physical copies of those.
Mhm.
Um, that is right there is the stretch goal. So that was our $7 stretch goal. I think we're like $20 away from that. And
Yeah.
everyone gets a collaborative poster of us in Concrete Comics, who's also doing a Kickstarter right now.
Mhm.
9,000 we're probably not going to reach, but that was going to be digital versions of another the same Concrete character, the Watchmen, and Mega Woman for Godhood Comics. Um, and we just all three of us been working together to help each other
Mhm.
and grow. After that, the rewards like will turn into the physical books of these two, and then we start adding on merch, keychains, and the old versions. So Impound One and Seraph One, which is the golden ninja with the two swords. So
Mhm.
just we just keep adding on more and more signed versions, uh,
Mhm.
things like that, all within the Impound world.
Awesome. 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 So these are the goal. These are the
The reward.
rewards and goals on the side right here that
Yep,
you all
yep.
can see. And so, they have different ones that you can pledge to. As you can see, they have different things for each one. So they have t-shirts, like you said, t-shirts, keychains, name credits and books and things of that matter. So we could go ahead and get that support going in there. So those are some of the rewards and things that are actually part of this Kickstarter, which are amazing, which I think I saw the keychains on your Instagram.
Yeah,
You have them there?
I got
Yeah,
one.
I saw the keychains. I was looking at those. So those are actually very nice keychains.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very nice keychains. Yep, yep. And I also saw the sweatshirt that you had and the t-shirts. I was like, those are very,
yeah,
very, very, very nice. So,
yeah.
those are some good rewards that you also have on them. So, with that also being said, let me just ask you this. While you were working on this Kickstarter, whether if it was getting started or while in the middle of it, was there any obstacles that you came across during the campaign or before the campaign? Anything that stopped you that kind of made you say, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, or either like pretty much what encouraged you to keep going?
Uh, I mean, when it started off very, very slow. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it started really fast and then it just hit a wall. So,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's an obstacle, but one of the things that I should have did better was pre-promote the Kickstarter was coming. I'm not a fan of pre-promoting things. I don't really like doing that. I think that the first time that people see it, there
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest reaction. So I like to just say, "This is it, and here it is," and I feel like I get the biggest response. But on Kickstarter, that wasn't true. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Normally for me, that had been true, but that one showed me there's different ways of promoting different platforms.
Yeah.
So as soon as that happened, I just had to start, guerrilla style promoting, start really messaging people, and
Mm-hmm.
really like making sure I hit the goal because
Yeah.
wouldn't have that would have been embarrassing. But after I started, like I had to like it was almost like I had to humble myself and
Yeah.
not think that the fans were just going to do it just because it's me. I need to
Hmm.
I need to reach out and get them involved, and that's what I had to
Yeah.
do. That was probably the only real obstacle I would see though was picking up the
Mhm.
pace. Picking up-
Oh, now we do have a question. Mr. Kevin say, what was the calculus behind coming up with the exact Kickstarter goal number? That's a good question.
you do it on your own. It's kind of a rough estimate. The for sure what I do is you don't want to set it too high.
Hmm.
Um, you pretty much with what I did. This was my second Kickstarter, but this was my first real one because when I did it the first time, I didn't have any books ready. I didn't have anything but pictures.
Hmm.
With just images, I got to around $2,400, I would say.
Hmm.
So with the growth that I've had since then, releasing more stories, building the fan base, I just thought I could at least double that. So that was the only thing I based it off of
Okay.
was what I did last time. Um, but I still probably would have set it there even if we were three times bigger because
Hmm.
you want to hit your goal as soon as possible to kind of get into that Kickstarter algorithm
Hmm.
that shows other people your work. Um,
Yeah.
so that was what it was. That was the reason why I did it like that.
Well, okay, that's a good source of information because a lot of people don't know about the numbers, what goes on. Part of how do you set the numbers? Do you set them high? Do you set them low? Should
Yeah,
you go in between? That's a question that a lot of people ask. So it's good to hear that from someone who's actually been in Kickstarter and used it and can pretty much say, okay, from my experience, this
yeah,
is what you actually use. So that was actually a very good question. Thank you very much, Mr. McAdoo, for that question. I appreciate that.
yeah,
That was actually a very helpful question,
yeah, definitely.
something that I would like to have known too.
Well, because
Also,
some people, they set their goals too high. You
hmm.
know, someone wanted me to set it at like 30,000, and they were like, "Oh, another Kickstarter to set it at 30." I was like, "Yeah, but that has nothing to do with me."
Hmm.
Up until that point, we we even have 30,000 in sales yet? I'm not. Probably
Yeah,
not. So why would you set your Kickstarter campaign at something you hadn't even did in months?
correct.
I mean, in 30 days. So that's my logic behind it.
Yeah, you got to be reasonable sometimes.
Yeah,
You have
exactly.
to,
You gotta
you know,
be
you have to
realistic.
think. And you got to be realistic about numbers sometimes. So that is true. So now we had kind of spoke a little bit about this before we started the show, but after this campaign, it's over.
Mhm.
What's next for you? What other projects do you have lined up? Is there anything that you can let us in on, or something that you're
Well,
doing
yeah,
right
no, it's all good. It's so Impound 3 is already being illustrated. Seraph 2 is being illustrated, and same with Alina, who is in the book Decimus 1. So she gets her own solo story after this Decimus 1 book. Um, next is going to be we have an app game
now?
called Impound Vengeance. So we're doing an update to that because we have you could buy skins on there for your characters and
Hmm.
level. So that's coming within a few weeks of this Kickstarter ending. And I've been working on a children's book version of Impound and all the characters, and
Oh, that's neat.
that's finished also. So that's what I was saying earlier. It was a matter of just organizing which should come
Mhm.
first, when. But we're already ready to move past where we are right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So as soon as Kickstarter is over, that stuff will be out and available, and the Kickstarter backers will get it first. But
Okay.
um, but yeah, we're already ready to move on.
Now, are they going to get like an actual physical game by any chance?
What do you mean by physical game?
You said that you had a game that you
App
that you
game.
coming. Oh, it's an app
Yeah,
game.
and that it's already out. So the
Okay.
app game, we're just it's our basically I would say it's like season two of the
Okay.
game. You know what I mean? So like I said, it'll be a new level. There's already been a level on there, and then there will be new ways your character can look. It's a small update, but it's big in a way. You know what I mean? So we'll be promoting the release of that day.
Awesome, awesome. And Mr. McAdoo did just let us know that he did back Pound, and he can't wait to get his
Oh,
hands
thank you.
on it. So that is awesome to know. But he did also mention that he's trying to figure out what the magic number should be going into his first Kickstarter in September. Congratulations on that, Mr.
If
McAdoo.
it's, if it's your first, I probably wouldn't do higher than $1,000.
There you go.
You know, $1,000. You know what I mean? Which you should be able to hit just
Mhm,
off the strength of people you know, and just reaching out to people. But I would just set it low,
mhm.
and just be happy of being backed and finding new people and go from there. Because you do want to test that market. It's not like what people think. You just put stuff on there and it blows up. That's not realistic.
Yeah,
Ooh. But that's what I did. My first goal was 1,000.
$1,000. So that's
I ended up
reasonable.
having more. Yeah,
Yeah, that's reasonable. And you say that you ended up having more
yeah.
because.
Just because your goal is low does not mean most
Mhm,
likely it's still gonna go. If people want it, they'll keep getting it. And like I said, the quicker you hit your goal, the better it is for new people to see
mhm.
what you have on Kickstarter, because
Yeah.
Kickstarter will start promoting for you a little bit.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Once you start hitting your stretch goals and things of that matter, so that's when they started actually showing it on their certain
Okay.
pages and
Yeah.
advertising it for you. So yeah, that's the actual good benefit for Kickstarter. So Mr.
Mhm.
McAdoo, I hope you got the information. He said if it's your first one, set it at 1,000, and then just pretty much let it run itself, pretty
Yeah.
much. So it'll build up in numbers on itself. So that is some good information dealing with that. Now, while we're still talking about that, your Kickstarter and everything is going on, I did show them the Kickstarter and all of the things behind it. What I want to do, if you don't mind, I do want them to see the video, which I
Problem.
thought was amazing.
Thank
So
you.
if you all just bear with me 1 second, we're going to go ahead and pull up the video so to give you a preview of Impound's comic. So bear with me just 1 second here.
I was gonna say too, you can enable the sound. I think. I don't know if the sound will play.
All right. Now, was the sound good? Did you hear the sound at
I
all?
didn't hear the sound at all.
Oh
That's
my goodness! I hope hopefully you all heard the sound because it was nice. It played perfectly last night. So, but that was a very good intro. But if you didn't hear the sound, of course, you can always go to the Kickstarter, which gives you a reason to go ahead and support his Kickstarter and actually go ahead and back it. So there you go. You saw the stuff as you all were seeing. Okay, okay. Some of the stuff that I saw, the sweatshirt, the T-shirt, all of that stuff was good. The app game, which is also awesome, good also. With that being said, that this is an awesome Kickstarter. I'm glad that you've reached your goal. So you're probably going to get some more. We're going to say there's going to get some that you're going to get more
for sure.
before the goal ends. You got 28 more hours to go. You
Yep.
just need those last little few to go ahead and kick you up to that 7,000. So that's all we need. If you all are watching, please go ahead and back Mr. Brent and Impound Comics on his comic book. You get a lot of good stuff when you back him on one of the goals that he currently have. Now, just before we slowly come to an end, I just have one thing for you. If you could give like an encouraging word to people, like for example to Mr. Kevin here, or anyone that is getting ready to do a Kickstarter or thinking about starting a comic or creating a comic, what what encouragement would you give them? Like what kind of fuel would you give them to make them want to go ahead and press on?
Um, I mean, you just move forward. When I first started going, I didn't know what I was doing. I never tried to make a comic book before. It was kind of trial and error. The biggest thing that I would say that helped me was don't be afraid to ask people questions.
Mm,
There's a big comic community. There's a big independent community. Most of the people are very helpful, and you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So I like just like how he's asking. I was asking those same questions before I did
yeah.
my first Kickstarter. Um, Marketing strategies, like what worked for them, and just do it. And just do it. Don't let anything stop you from doing it. You make it happen because it's obtainable,
Yeah.
very obtainable, and people are always looking for something new.
hmm that is true. And I always say you never know where it may lead to.
Hmm.
Look at Stan Lee. He thought Spider-Man, he was told that Spider-Man was a dumb character. But as Spider-Man, you can't go nowhere without seeing Spider-Man or a child having a Spider-Man book bag or getting the outfit or either buying something. Spider-Man is on every corner.
Yeah,
So, you can't really listen to
yeah,
that.
people discourage you.
Yeah. So you can't really listen to that type of stuff. So that's so thank you for giving that encouraging words. So just before we end, if people want to contact you or reach out to you, what is the best way for them to
The
reach
best
out?
way, the best way is always Instagram. I'm usually always on there. And that's at Impound Comics.
Mhm,
Next, impoundcomics at gmail.com. I reply to my email a lot. Those are
mhm,
my two best ways. I'm on Facebook, but not as often.
mhm. Okay, so those are the best ones, like his email and Instagram. If you're not already following impoundcomics.com, that's the website. If you're not already following at Impound Comics on Instagram, go ahead and give them a follow. Is there a Twitter also, Mr. Grant?
Yeah, it's at Impound Comics, but I rarely look at the Twitter.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So there is just for our Twitter folks, there is a Twitter at
yeah.
Impound Comics. It sounds like it's the
Please go
same
follow.
as Instagram. The
Please
same
go.
as Instagram. So those are the main ones. So just before we end, Mr. Brent, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. We wish you well and the best on the rest of your hours with the Kickstarter. We hope that you reach that, get a spike, and hit that 9,000 like you claimed that you wasn't gonna hit. So
Yeah, that'd be
that'd
great.
be that'd be amazing if it does that. But everyone else, I thank you for joining us tonight. Once again, the Kickstarter is here in the comments. If you want to go ahead and back, please go ahead and back and help support Mr. Brennan Impound Comments so they can continue to move on. They have some other great things in the process. So let's go ahead and give them that support that is needed. And like I always say, if there is nothing else, we thank you for joining Kickstarter Connections. Stay positive. That's negative.
Thank you. Have a good one.